Okay, so now it's time to rig this character here. So let me just delete this joint. And let's go back to our joint tool and start rigging. Actually, I want to be in 2A, and I want to be able to see the front view and the side view for this. Okay. Now, to effectively create your joints, we will want to turn on tool here, X-ray joints. Make sure it's turned on, X-ray joints, so you could see your joints as you're making them. Okay, it's different from X-ray, just X-ray joints. Okay. All right. So we start with. Let me turn this off. We could start with the leg. So I'll just select and create the hip joints first of all on here. Then I'll create the knee joint somewhere here, and then raise it up a bit. Create the ankle, create a foot, and then one at the tip of the toe, and hit enter. Now once I do that, you will notice it's not showing up here. Where is this joint? When you create a joint just like any other curve, it will create in the center of the grid. That's at the point of origin. So you come down here, you'd see our joint is right here. So this is the character we're actually building then. Okay, so you could see that our joint is not exactly where we expected it to be. So let's bring this down a bit. It's right in the center of the grid. So we just shift it down here to the leg. So this would be the left leg. Okay, remember that the characters are not mirror oriented. So this is going to be the left and this is going to be the right. Okay, one very important thing to do is to name your joints. Don't wait till you create everything before you start to name them. It could be very tedious for you, so you can just do them at once. It makes work easier for you. All right. Right now that we've gotten up here, I might want to save your progress. So actually, I think you should save your progress just in case. So just go to your file and save scene. So in the folder that we had for this series or that you created, you could now save this as whatever you want to call it. You could call it your rig or joint tool or whatever you want to call it. So I'll just call this joints tool, right? So it's just easy for me to know that. Save. So this is just in case your system crashes while you are working or something happens and you know, things happen. We're dealing with technology here. Anything can happen. So let me just lift this guy up a little bit and bring this one down. Okay, so now we've created the joints here. We don't actually need to create the right leg. We'll mirror what we have here to the right. So next, let's create the spine. Okay, so the spine could still be somewhere here, make the lower hip. So even if I click right here or here, because I want it to be here, so I need that to always be in the center. Okay, so let's start from here. This is when the spine will start from, the caudal vertebra. Then we have this joint here. Okay, then we have one for the abdomen. Then we have for the upper chest, or mid chest, sorry. Then we have for the upper chest, probably from the neck or the head, or the where I think the nose would be, because I'm going to create one joint that will run here and create one on the head and hit enter. Commit that. Okay, so I was saying we should name the joints before we continue this. So this one here, we'll call it the left hip. So I'd write L hip, and this one, we'll call this the left knee. And this one, we'll call that left ankle. Then I'll call this left feet. So just name them accordingly as well. Then this will be the left toe. Now the naming is important for when we want to mirror them, to make our mirroring very effective, and I'll show you that in a moment. Then this I'll call my probably just call this hip, not left or right, just hip or caudal, whatever you want to call it. So let me just use hip. Okay, then this, otherwise let me just call this spine. What the heck, that's the spine. Then we'll call this the abdomen. Okay, now I'm not calling this left or right because it's just one joint chain that's gonna be filled here. So we'll call this the lower chest. Then we'll call this mid chest. Then we call this the upper chest. Okay, then this will be the neck. Then this will be, let's just call this head. Let's just call it head. Then we'll call that the last one the head tip. All right. So first of all, the hip, left hip, supposed to be connected to the caudal vertebra, or let's say the base of our spine here. So I'm just going to adjust this one a little bit and bring down the rest. Okay. Okay, so we have, let's go down hierarchy, push this forward. Okay, push this one backwards. This one forward too. Okay, so on here. All right, then I'm going to make this a child of the spine. So all I do is select it, right click and drag it into the spine, and then you would see a joint chain is connected here. All right, now let me show you how the mirror works. So I don't need to draw out the right leg anymore. As long as this left hip is selected, I just come into my skeleton mirror joint, and let's go into the settings and see what that does. So here we have the mirror across what plane? XY, YZ, or XZ. So right now the joint is laying along the x-axis, so we're going to use the YZ. Then I'm going to use these options here. Search for, we are using L for our joints, L hip. So I'll say search for L underscore and replace it with R underscore. Now I'm doing this so that when it creates the mirror, it actually renames all the joints to match with this. So after this, all I need to do is just hit apply or mirror. And once I hit mirror, see the miracle. It actually created another joint exactly in the same position. Okay, and now when we go into these, you see everything that was L here is now called R. So we now have right hip, right knee, right ankle. So it's a very easy way to rename your joints without having to go through the hassle of picking them one by one. Okay, so that's why I said it's good to name your joints now, not that you complete them later and then you start to name them one by one. That would be pretty hectic, pretty strenuous for you. Okay, so now we've done this. I want to add some joints here across the chest just to peel out. Not really important, I can do without it, but sometimes I just like to put them there. Let me start with the nose joint. So we're going to do this insert joint, or I can just create a new joint since that bone is selected, and I just point it towards the nose here. Okay, so now that joint, I could now name that joint nose. Okay, so this is a child of the head. Okay, and I want to add one more to the upper chest. I will just click here and make that. But let me just ignore this for now. Let's go into the hands. Now the hands are a little bit more difficult to make, so let's see how that comes out. So I'm going to do that from my front view, and I'm going to change this to my top view because the side view won't really help me here. I'm going to change to my top view so that I could have the hands shown. Okay, so from my let's see, from my upper chest or my shoulder, I want to create a real shoulder or clavicle. So I'm just going to create probably one here for my shoulders, then the arm, or clavicle and arm, or I could just create one long one here. So let me just create one long one here. Let's create one here. Okay, then from there I create the forearm here. Then I create this arm here. Now this is the reason why I'm using the top view, because I will need to reposition the joints to match with the hands. So here I could just come in and take this back a little bit, okay, to match with the shoulder, and this to match with the elbow. Remember, it's an elbow, so it's gonna have a tilt, a bend. Then this will be the wrists, which will be somewhere here. So I could actually go in there and rename them at once. So this would be the left shoulder, following the same principles with the legs. Then this would be what? Left knee. Okay. Then this will be the left wrist. Okay, so now we're going to create the finger joints. I want you to see this. This is very important when it comes to creating the hand joints. Okay. First of all, from the wrists, before we create the joints, we need to select this snapping tool. Snap to projected center. Okay. So it snaps to the center of the selected object. So right now, since we're doing the hands, we're going to be basically doing it from the top view. You will notice that because that snap will be turned on, or is turned on now, when I create the joints for this finger, it's going to make the joints created at the center of that mesh, not on top or not below. So look at this. I create from here, which is my wrists. Then I do one, let's see, one here, then two, then three. Okay, so you see how the joint follows suit, trying to match up with the center, and that's because of that projected center. So let me actually adjust this one. Let me take it down, empty here. need to actually make this one here. Okay, then bring this one back in. So snapping to the center is pretty useful and handy for when we are creating finger joints, right? So now we're going back to our joint tool. We're going to this. Then we'll create one here. Then 1, 2, 3 for that finger. Step back in hierarchy. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one of the knuckles. Then 3 smaller ones. 1, 2, 3 back. Then we create the knuckle. Then 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Step up again and create one here. Then we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, then you can hit enter to commit. Now you can see that the joints actually stuck to the center of the fingers. Alright, so now let's go in and name them. So from the left wrist we have, this will be the left thumb, this will be the left index, this will be the left mid, this will be the left ring, and this will be the left pinky. Okay, for time, I'm not going to go in and name all this like left thumb 1, left thumb 2, left thumb 3. So you could go in and do that. Make sure you do that actually. So go in and do that. So we have for left thumb, so the hierarchy there, this will be left thumb 1, this will be left thumb 2, and on like that for all the joints. So you go in and do that. I won't do that right now because of time. So now we've labeled all our joints. It's easy now to select the shoulder and mirror it using the same mirror tools. Remember, the settings are still there. Look for L and replace with R. Once I hit mirror, it mirrors it to this side, and then we see a perfect setup here. So if you come into your perspective view, you could see we have a good and perfect fit. Okay, see that? And perfectly named as well. So this is the third way of creating your rigs, or the second way. You don't want 1.5. So the second way of creating your rigs manually, creating it from scratch. So now we've successfully created the skeletal joints chain for this character. Next thing we will need to do is create some rigs and some controls, and I'll be doing that in the next video.